Yes, Bill, you are very wrong. This is in response to Billy's Talking Points memo of Wednesday, August 3rd, 2014. Before I get started, yes, I did have minor surgery. I had a little rotator cuff tear that needed to be taken care of sooner rather than later. I'm very fortunate that I have health insurance. At a number of different times in my life, I did not have health insurance. So I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to take care of this. It's still going to cost me a vacation because I won't be able to take a vacation. But that's beside the point. This was taken care of. I'm very happy that I have the insurance to be able to take care of it. Now, getting back to Billy's Talking Points memo. Billy, I think you're very wrong. Wrong. And the best way I can describe that is that even though when you spoke last night, President Obama had already spoken earlier in the day, I believe he was in Estonia, with the, number one, not only a strong condemnation in reference to ISIS, and also a strong condemnation in reference to Putin, and probably the strongest that he has ever done. And it is very, very amazing to me, whereas basically he's on the same page as most people are, and that if this had been President McCain, and he advocated the same thing, that you'd all be saying that he's doing the right thing by holding back and not getting going. Let's first go into ISIS. ISIL, I will refer to them as ISIL from now on. That terrible group needs to be taken care of, needs to be taken care of sooner rather than later. As I mentioned in a previous, some previous remarks, that there are a lot of players in there. We'd like to get all of the players involved: Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt, and then there are the others, other ones, Qatar, whatever those two small ones are, I can't think of, United Arab Emirates, etc. We need to get all of them involved in reference to ISA. As I said before, there's many factions in every country. That each country is not fully united in necessarily. Obviously, anything that's coming out of Saudi Arabia will be, whatever they decide to do, because that's almost a dictatorship. But they all see a need to get things done. A lot of things that are going on. Of course, you're criticizing Obama because he doesn't sit there and yell and scream. Is that they're working very hard behind the scenes, trying to cut out funding for ISA, trying to cut out the routes that, let's say, Europeans or Americans are taking to get to Syria so that they can join ISIL. Also identifying who is part of ISIL, and not only their funding, how they're supported, how they're armed, how they recruit, how all of these things can be it's not simultaneously, but all of them have a complete strategy to get rid of all of it, to keep Americans and Europeans from getting into Syria, to cut off all their funding, cut off their armament, to identify who all the players are, to find out how to, let's just say, destroy, kill the head of ISIL and everyone's around it and supporting it with the least amount of damage to regular civilians in those areas. I think that's a very, very big thing. You mocked some of the people who you called on the left, who indicated that we shouldn't do anything about ISIL because if we do, we're just going to bring up more people, meaning that when you kill one, then 10 people come back and replace. Well, that certainly is true if you're killing people indiscriminately who had nothing to do, who were involved with ISIL. And and I would go back, there's many economic things that are going on behind the scenes. A lot of these people are poor. They had a little thing on NBC the other day, was it yesterday, or, in reference to that one guy who tried to join ISIL, didn't join ISIL, went back to the United States, got arrested, is in jail. And the profile of that guy was a very angry, I won't say disturbed, very angry and really was striving for something to find some type of fulfillment in his life, and I guess joining a cause like that meant something to him. But we have to get to the roots of all of these things, and figure and then go, let's just say, hog wild, and do everything that we possibly can to get rid of ISIL as quickly as possible. And then again, we need to do it efficiently. We need to do it effectively. And bombing indiscriminately is not efficient and is not effective. Yelling and screaming that we're going to do this is not going to help. It's not going to solve the matter in the long run. You always have to have a strategy. You always have to have your tactics to get going on this. Has it been a little bit too long to get it going? Yes, it has. Have there been a lot of other things that have been going on in the world? I do believe that there have. We've had many problems. We had a nice little war and the Gaza Strip. Putin and I'll get to the rest of Putin in a second, has been doing his little song and dance on and off for the last 6 months. Things haven't been going well in Libya for a long time. So there's a lot going on, a lot on the plate. We had our little confrontation in Ferguson, Missouri, which drew attention to a lot of things, which needs to be addressed also. All of these things need to be addressed. So we need to have a strong, efficient, effective federal government looking at all of these things so that we can find the proper solutions to them and then to implement our plans to make it to get it going. Now, getting back to Putin. Again, he's showing he's just one of those little punks that just always has to get his way. And it doesn't really matter right now that he's trying to declare that there's a ceasefire that'll be done on his terms, etc. I want to get back to your point about the credit cards. It sounds like a great idea. I'd like to look into it more. Don't know how much that could be implemented. Don't know how long we would need to have it last. Don't know how, the long-term effects. We say that it'll hurt them. It could hurt us. Could hurt a lot of other things that are going on. I'd like to jump in here and also say that France has decided not to send the ship that they built, the warship that they built for Russia, 1.7 billion or something like that to Russia. And initially they said that they would. So, and of course there is a big meeting, and I believe it's in Estonia, and now it's in Wales, of what they're going to do. So they're going to be doing a lot of things, both for ISIL and for Putin. But just to continue with Putin, again, I do think that credit card thing is a good thing. I don't know how it would really work. Possibly it could cause a lot of harm. But what are the things that we can do? What more things can we do? Can we cut off banking with other banks in Russia? Can we stop additional trade? Can we get? Again, I'd like to bring up the point that hey, God, if we had implemented President Carter's policy to be energy independent by 2010 or whatever he said back in 1978. Where he had solar energy up on the roof of the White House, and it didn't go back up again until about 2 years ago, then we wouldn't be needing to have all the oil come from Saudi Arabia and those countries, and Europe might not need to have nearly as much of the gas coming from Russia. So those were a long-term strategy that Carter put into place, and Reagan just tore it apart. One of the first things they did is take down the solar panels from the White House when Reagan came in. So yeah, we have to have a long-term strategy for Putin. He's not going anywhere. Are there more things that we think that we need to do? Yes, I do believe that there are more things that we should do. Should they be coordinated? Should we all be on the same page? Should we all be in 100% agreement as to how we're going to do this in terms of what Britain will do, France will do, Germany, Italy, etc., all of the partners there in terms of what we're going to do to stop Russia from invading or continuing to invade the Ukraine. You said that we weren't arming the Ukrainians. I'm not quite sure about that. There's probably a lot of back channel type things. The other thing is that we do need to have a stable government in the Ukraine so that we can send armaments, so that we can train people, so that they can defend themselves. Again, another long-term strategy which we must put in place at the same time that we are trying to keep Putin out of there. As you pointed out, we will not be sending our own troops there. Britain will not be sending our own troops there. But there are things that can go on. And again, I'd like to emphasize to you, Billy, that President Obama had probably his strongest defense of the Ukraine, of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, that any incursion onto them would be an incursion against the United States. There are other things that they can do that they're working at the plans for. And all I see on your part, all I see on the conservative part, is because Obama's not yelling and screaming that he's weak, that he's ineffective, that Putin can do anything that he wants. I think this thing has taken a lot longer for Putin to do, and I think he'd like to get out of it somehow. Hence his little plan that he's putting together right now, where he declares on his own there's a ceasefire and that everything will work according to Russia's plan. He wants to get out of it because it is affecting him. It is affecting the people around him. It is affecting the country. And even though his popularity had gone up some, I don't know if it's gone down a whole lot. But, a lot of this was just for the sake that Russia's economy is in the toilet. And, they may even say that they're going to cut off shipments to Germany for natural gas, etc., and these pipelines, but they need the money. They need the money. That's what it all comes down to. And, I think that you're wrong on almost every single point. And you're looking and speaking solely about the cosmetic aspect of how Obama speaks to the press in terms of him being weak and ineffective, ineffectual, that he's scared of Putin, that he doesn't know how to handle ISIS. If I remember correctly, your boy, President Bush, didn't even bother to go after Osama bin Laden after a while. But Obama made the decision that we're going to get this guy, and we did. He had the wherewithal. He had the discipline. He put the structure into place. We found him. We got him. And that's exactly what's going to happen to ISIL. And hopefully we'll be able to put Putin back in his place also.